It's the summer of 2020. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie sits alone in her apartment, the pandemic holding the world hostage. Her father, a giant in her life, has just died thousands of miles away in Nigeria. She can't hold his hand, can't say goodbye. The house feels like a cage of silence. What does it mean to grieve when the world demands you stay silent and strong? Let's unravel how grief breaks rules and why it's allowed to be messy. Grief isn't neat or polite. Adichie's story pulls us right into the chaos of sorrow, where silence isn't golden, it's suffocating. On a seemingly ordinary day in Lagos, Chimamanda's phone rings with the news: her father has passed away. The reality crashes over her, not just the loss, but the painful barrier of distance and pandemic restrictions, making each breath heavier. It's not just grief, it's the suffocating loneliness of grieving alone with only digital echoes for comfort. Grief isn't like ripples on a pond, it's a hurricane tearing through your soul. Adichie compares it to a wild storm, chaotic, loud, and relentless, contrasting society's demand to behave as if the sea is calm. It's a visceral reminder. Grief wants to be felt fully, tempest and all, refusing the neat porcelain box the world tries to shove it in. Despite the pressure to hide her pain, Adichie finds unexpected permission in her words to scream and cry. She realizes that to heal you must carve out a private sanctuary, an emotional backyard where grief can roar without judgment. This transforms the tragedy into a humanizing force, connecting her to millions feeling the same raw ache, pandemic or not. In Nigeria, grief is expected to look a very specific way. Adichie wrestles with those norms, holding anger and grief that don't fit culturally approved shapes. In Adichie's culture, grief is often muted, practiced with stoic dignity. After her father's death, she finds herself an outsider to these rituals, burning with rage and sorrow that won't settle into polite rituals. Her father, a towering figure in Igbo culture, deserved more than traditional quiet. He deserved her storm. Using a vivid analogy, Adichie likens forced composure to a cage, beautiful on the outside but suffocating within. This cultural mask silences real feelings, turning grief into performance rather than processing. The societal demand for serenity traps emotions, making authentic mourning an act of rebellion. Through her writing, she tears down the cage, inviting not just herself but her community to witness raw, unapologetic grief. This transformation challenges how we teach younger generations to mourn, turning cultural rigidity into radical empathy. Because grief, in its true form, is indispensable to healing. Adichie's grief isn't just hers, it's millions during the pandemic. She shows how personal loss can stitch us back together even from a distance. As COVID-19 rages, Chimamanda's lockdown grief mirrors millions worldwide who lost loved ones isolated and unheard. The shared experience of absence and disruption binds many in a silent chorus. Their individual pain, though private, echoes a collective human suffering, reminding us we're not as alone as it feels. She turns to writing, originally a New Yorker essay, expanded into this gem to reach across miles in silence. Her words become a lifeline, a shared space where grief is vocal and visible. Through writing, the solitude of loss morphs into community, turning personal fracture into collective connection. This journey leads her to an unexpected revelation: vulnerability is strength. By embracing pain openly, we invite healing and forge human bonds stronger than fear or isolation. In this way, grief becomes not just a wound but a thread sewing broken parts of humanity back together. Remember that cramped apartment in summer 2020 where Chimamanda sat trapped between worlds, mourning a father she couldn't touch? That moment was just the start. Grief, she teaches us, isn't a whisper you hide, it's a storm you survive. Next time grief crashes in, don't mute it. Find your loud, wild space to grieve. Try writing a letter to your loss, say everything, even what feels raw and impossible. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.